Well, after weeks of struggling to elect a new Speaker of the House, Republicans gave up and just generated one with AI. There's no way Mike Johnson is a real person. He's supposed to be a conservative Republican, yet he looks like every MSNBC host combined. Well, America elected Donald Trump to run the country like a business, but it turns out he's running it like one of his businesses.
Buckle up, because this is about to get wilder than watching your aunt argue with a fact checker in a family group chat. Buck Joe and Michael Che just demolished Trump and Mike Johnson. And we are here to witness every single moment of that beautiful comedic chaos. This was not gentle teasing. This was a bocce chef level roasting with political receipts stacked higher than a holiday sale line. If you thought political jokes had reached peak madness, wait until you hear what they unleashed. Grab your snacks and hold on to your dignity, because it is about to get messy.
Last time the U.S. government shut down was during President Trump's first administration in 2018, which was so long ago, we look like this. President Trump claimed that one of the reasons the government shut down is because Democrats want transgender for everybody, which is obviously not true. But at the same time, I wouldn't say no to my own set of...
So Colin Joe kicked things off with the confidence of someone who just stumbled upon a clearance rack filled with political drama. He went after Trump with the same energy barista has when your card refuses to work 3 times in a row. Every punchline hit with the accuracy of a GPS that only exists to locate insecurities. The hair, the speeches, the I won something, even though reality says otherwise energy. He tapped into all of it with perfect comedic precision.
I love that you can intentionally ruin the economy and still get to stay president. It's like if you drunk drove your car through the window of the DMV and they were like, license renewed. It's insane. This was the worst week for the stock market since the summer of 2020. But you have to remember, back then, the president was also Trump.
If you're enjoying this video, then make sure to subscribe to the channel and tap the bell icon. Anyway, Michael Che jumped in immediately with comedy that hit Mike Johnson like a steel chair slamming into a wrestling ring. He did not treat Johnson like a political leader. He treated him like a glitchy Wi-Fi router that keeps restarting during peak hours. Johnson's intense speeches, his unplanned facial expressions, and his habit of sounding like a substitute math teacher fighting for control turned into Che's favorite playground.
Johnson has also been called homophobic for supporting anti-LGBTQ legislation and saying homosexuality is bizarre and deviant, which are 2 fantastic gay clubs on the West Side, by the way.
Former president and current courtroom sketch model Donald Trump testified on the stand for the first time in over 10 years. And it's fun that nobody is 100% sure which trial this sketch is.
And guess what? Colin Joe circled back to Trump like a man revisiting a half-finished amusement park ride he refuses to leave behind. The overdone confidence, the wild emotional swings, the idea that podium should fear him more than voters do. Joe spun all of it into a masterclass in accidental comedy. When Trump spoke, it became a sport. And when he walked, it became a full-scale event worthy of a spotlight.
President Trump even imposed tariffs on remote islands that are only inhabited by penguins. Well, then maybe penguins shouldn't keep pushing their gay agenda.
Senator Cory Booker set a record giving a 25-hour speech on the Senate floor, which is crazy. I mean, I've been talking for 45 seconds and I already want to go home.
Michael Che switched back to Mike Johnson with the ease of flipping a switch labeled Maximum Petty. Che did not pretend Johnson had an intimidating presence. He described him like an old library DVD that everyone forgot about, technically useful, permanently ignored, and still managing to disappoint. Every attempt at seriousness became a fresh comedic opportunity Che refused to waste.
Michael Cohen testified that Donald Trump's 3 oldest children were involved in putting together financial statements for his company. Ivanka wrote the summaries, Don Jr. put together the numbers, and Eric licked the envelopes. Michael Cohen testified that Trump would look at the total value of his assets and say, I'm actually not worth $4.5 billion. I'm really worth more like 6. 4.5 is basically 6 is also what he tells Melania.
The man tries to sound commanding, and Shay painted him as someone attempting to pump up a crown at an insurance convention. His dramatic speeches turned into overcooked pasta. His stern poses looked like budget cosplay. Johnson's political presence was basically a warm soda bottle sitting in the sun, and Shay poured pure satire right on top of it. Colin Joe returned to Trump and pushed the absurdity even higher. He compared Trump's announcements to someone dramatically revealing their favorite Pokemon like it was top secret intel. The stiff wave, the grand. Delivery, the endless certainty. Joe narrated it like Olympic coverage. Trump stepping on stage felt like a 5-part documentary. He did not need policy jokes because the entertainment came naturally from hand gestures, slogans, and ironclad confidence. Che then crafted the image of a man in a leadership position only because everyone else stepped back. Someone who reads teleprompters like they are cutting the wrong wire on a bomb when it is only a birthday message. Johnson's political thunder sounded less like power and more like a squeaky grocery cart with a broken wheel.
Last time the U.S. government shut down was during President Trump's first administration in 2018, which was so long ago, we look like this. President Trump claimed that one of the reasons the government shut down is because Democrats want transgender for everybody, which is obviously not true. But at the same time, I wouldn't say no to my own.
Things escalated fast when Cullen returned with a roast polished enough to pass airport security. Trump's bold announcements became the comedy version of motivational speeches yelled through a megaphone at a petting zoo. Every exaggerated claim inflated until it burst under pure sarcasm. He poked at the endless confidence, the recycled slogans, and the determination to win arguments no one started. It was not a roast. It was an archaeological dig into ego, brushing away layers until the fossils underneath were perfectly displayed. Every attempt at authority looked like a silent movie with no soundtrack. Every show of leadership resembled a school project where one kid insists on controlling the clipboard. Cho folded all of it into sharp humor that left no pride untouched. Jose jumped back in with the excitement of someone who learned satire burns calories. Trump's speeches became high-stakes magic tricks where nothing actually happens, but the audience is still expected to clap. He highlighted the dramatic pauses, the repeated punchlines, and the triumphant tone over sentences that sounded like cereal box slogans.
President Trump spent last week defending our historical best friend, Russia. Trump turned this week to attacking our sworn enemy, Canada. That's right, those syrup-guzzling, poutine-munching, moose-humping hockey sluts have taken advantage of us far too long. Even right here at SNL, American sketch comedy jobs are being stolen by filthy Canadians.
Michael Che followed by diving right back into Johnson's identity crisis. A man who wants to seem powerful but brings the vibe of a church camp raffle host was too tempting for Che to ignore. Johnson trying to lead the political field was compared to a hamster trying to operate a bulldozer. Technically in charge, spiritually exhausted, Che described every gesture like a sigh turned into a person. Johnson's attempt to win over the public with a comedic version of a weak handshake, awkward, forgettable, and gone before anyone realized it happened. His refusal to settle for anything less than worship became a circus powered by bright lights and denial. Just portrayed Trump as the most dedicated hype man for himself, sprinting endlessly on a treadmill made of slogans like an athlete trying to leap hurdles. Jay jumped in with one final blast at Johnson, turning his legacy attempts into a science experiment run by someone who skimmed the instructions half asleep. His outdated charm, constant craving for seriousness, and belief that a stern face equals authority were all shredded with a smile.
President Trump is threatening to sue the BBC for $5 billion for a documentary that edited out the part of his January 6th speech where he called for protesters to be peaceful. And to set the record straight, here is the full, unedited, completely accurate clip of what Trump said on that day.
Everybody knows I went down on Bill Clinton.
Once again, Cologne Joe delivered a poetic level roast of Trump. He framed Trump's worldview like a movie universe starring only himself, while everyone else played unwilling extras. Every stage entrance felt like the sequel to a sequel no studio approved. Every speech became a remix of the same chorus announced like breaking news. Joe ended it with a comedic mic drop so sharp that all that remained was the outline of a man fueled entirely by promotion and hairspray. Michael Che wrapped his finale by dropping a final hit on Johnson that crashed through the studio like a bowling ball in a glass shop. The jokes were fireworks themselves. Joe left Trump's dramatic persona looking like a stage prop, collapsing from its own weight, while Che transformed Johnson's polished self-image into an outdated museum display no one stops to look at. The laughter did not fade. It hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. Two comedians walked off, and two political figures, at least in their minds, were left scattered like confetti made of overconfidence.
A pharmaceutical executive collapsed in the Oval Office on Thursday. And speaking of pharmaceuticals, whatever they've got Trump on, I want some. Because just look how chill he is during all of this. He's just standing there. He's literally this meme. The craziest part is that during the commotion, RFK Jr. just runs away. Watch this. Watch this.
Gordon, you okay?
Michael Che jumped back into moment and continued tearing down Johnson as though he'd been waiting for a fresh refill of sarcasm. He treated Johnson's seriousness like the highest level of overestimating one's importance. The speeches meant to motivate were described like dramatic readings of warning instructions. Every attempt Johnson made to seem powerful wilted under Che's comedic spotlight. The stiff posture, the time pauses, the expectation that applause would appear out of thin air. Che captured all of it with jokes enough to cut through the silence. Trump's public behavior became his playground again, the human version of an infomercial refusing to end. Joe painted him as someone who announces things with the intensity of revealing ancient treasure, only for the treasure to be a brochure for golf resorts. Joe came back with more fuel, refusing to let Trump's theatrical confidence go unnoticed. Trump moved through politics like a man convinced he discovered gravity. Joe highlighted the triumphant gestures, the proud nods, the retold stories that always end with him saving the day through charisma. He did not need to rewrite history because he was rewriting his own sentences live. And Joe turned each moment into stand-up disguised as a press briefing.
This isn't that complicated, man. It's hurricane relief. These people need help. You just did this for white people twice. Do the same thing. Go tell Melania to put on her flood heels, get some bottled water, some food, pack up some extra Atlanta Falcons Super Bowl t-shirts, and write them a check with our money, you cheap cracker.
Michael Che looked at Johnson the way a cat looks at a laser pointer, fully ready to strike and completely entertained. Johnson wanted seriousness, but Che described him like a motivational speaker booked for the wrong event, expecting thousands, but finding 3 retired mall guards and a toddler. Johnson's dramatic expressions were comedy gold. Che amplified the way he talks, like someone reciting a script he barely believes. Che made it clear that Johnson's ambition was huge, but the distance between how he sees himself and how everyone else sees him was even bigger. Joe returned with fresh chaos, hammering Trump's dramatic flair like a pianist hitting the same key, while shouting that it is a full symphony. Trump walking became a saga. Trump standing still became a headline. Trump waving became a global prophecy. Joe turned the entire persona into a walk-in commercial for self-importance. Che shaped Johnson's attempt at authority into pure comedic art. Johnson, tried to look powerful, became a visual of a man posing heroically while holding a recycling bin. The dramatic pauses, the forced intensity, the passion that sounded like he practiced while folding laundry. Che turned all of it into comedy gold. Johnson's political style looked like someone trying to direct traffic using interpretive dance.
That's a weird move. Don't worry, by the way, the man who collapsed is totally okay. You can tell because if there's something dead on the ground, RFK eats it. On Tuesday, Zohran Mamdani was elected mayor. He was elected. A lot of Sliwa fans. He was elected mayor despite his opponent Andrew Cuomo receiving endorsements from Donald Trump and Eric Adams, which is like trying to bring a girl home by saying, not to brag, but I have hepatitis B and C.
Colin and Joe continued by treating Trump's press moments like legendary comedy reruns. He made it seem like every time Trump approached the podium, the world anticipated a groundbreaking speech, only to receive a remix of points already overused. The emotional highs, the victorious tone, the unwavering confidence untouched by facts. Joe stacked everything into satire strong enough to echo. Trump turned into a monument of self-promotion, so large even gravity wanted to rule its eyes. Joe captured the entire persona without quoting a single line, relying only on imagery delivered with perfect comedic impact. Michael Che closed the show with one final roast of Johnson, crafted with the precision of a comedian unwilling to waste good material. Johnson, trying to maintain political authority, was described like someone attempting to hold water in a paper bag. Hopeful, enthusiastic, doomed. The intense stares, the passionate speeches, the effort to appear commanding while giving off the emotional weight of a paperclip. Che tossed all of it into the fire. The laughter did not just rise, it filled the room. The audience watched a comedic autopsy of oversized egos fully exposed. No hatred, no malice, only satire flipping public personas inside out until the ridiculousness became impossible to deny. Even after the camera shut off, the energy stayed. The jokes followed people out the door, and the memories stuck like parade glitter that refuses to disappear. Trump looked like a carnival performer looping through self-celebration, and Johnson like an inspirational poster peeling from a cafeteria wall. It was not about politics. It was not about picking sides. It was about two comedians holding up a mirror to people who demand applause every moment of the day. And once that mirror was raised, the world saw everything clearly and could not stop laughing.